Good afternoon, everybody. As always, my name is JC, and welcome to my channel, Every Man's Thoughts. Today we're going to have a bit of fun and review all the clues that Rand al'Thor was the Dragon Reborn from Season 1 of Wheel of Time. This video is based on an article by Screen Rant, so if you want to read that article, link in the description, obvious spoiler warnings, and with that, let's get started. Our first clue didn't occur until episode 3, ironically named A Place of Safety. Although this series was plagued by questionable writing constricted into an impossible time frame, episode 3 stood out as one of the best. We had a stellar introduction to Gleeman Tom, played well by Alexander William, and an excellent performance by Izuka Hoyle as Dana the barkeep. We finally saw the first clue when Rand fell face first into a beautiful trap set by Dana the barkeep. This may have been the best plot twist of the entire season and certainly some of the best writing. Think about this beautiful setup. Rand and Mat's heads are still spinning from everything that happened to them in the last 2 episodes. They just got chased out of Shadar Logoth by some dark force they can't even begin to comprehend. Now they wash up on this dog-eat-dog mining town with no money, in desperate need of a place to rest their head and plan their next move. And, acting like a true predator, that's when Dana stepped in, pretending to be the friend they sorely needed. Hard to question the hand that feeds you when you're starving. The genius behind all of this is they set you up for every mediocre writing trope that you had come to expect and let your mind wander right down the path where it wanted to go. For example, Dana is a tough-as-nails barkeep because she has to be as a woman alone in this no-nonsense town. But secretly, she has a heart of gold and will give them food and a place to stay if they chop a little wood. And just when you think you've gone full Saturday afternoon Hercules the Legendary Journeys, they unabashedly dive in head first for more. She's just a lonely woman with big dreams and wanderlust who desperately needs to get out of this go-nowhere town. And then, bam, this happens.
I'm sorry,
No, sorry.
didn't mean to.
I came on too strong, didn't I?
No, it has nothing to do with you, it's just, no.
Was it the hair?
What?
No, I shouldn't have braided it. Makes me look too much like her, doesn't it?
Like who?
Egwene.
Now the episode has turned on a dime and you're contemplating that rewind button because you figure you must have missed something. In another stroke of either luck or brilliance, the actual clue comes when Rand knocks down the door while you're still trying to get your mind around what just happened.
Why do you think I brought you here? That door is made of ironwood. 3 men your size couldn't break it down.
On a bit of a down note, they don't actually show the white streaks of the one power in the original scene when Rand knocks down the door. However, they do add them in episode 7 when Rand is considering if he is in fact the dragon. Our next clue takes us to episode 5. This scene is a little more mundane, but I'll do my best. Our boys are still on the road and Mat is clearly succumbing to the influence of the dagger. Although Mat ascribes his melees to being on the road for a month without a warm bed, it is interesting to note their clothes appear to be clean and neatly pressed. In fact, Rand's cloak looks suspiciously like those wool blankets I buy at the Army-Navy surplus store. Hey, if you can find a warmer blanket for $3.50, good on you. As the scene rolls on, it becomes clear that Rand is beginning to enjoy the adventure of it all, and Mat is just over his bullshit. That's when they lay eyes on Dragonmount for the first time, and we get this.
That mountain. What? I don't know. I think I've seen it before.
Of course, the implication here is, how could Rand have ever seen that mountain before when he's never left Two Rivers? Episode 5 is the gift that keeps on giving as we proceed to clue number 3. Again, there is some cleverness here as regards to the circumstances that are unfolding during the presentation of the clue. As a significant piece of Rand's clue backstory is being revealed, both Rand and the audience are meeting an Ogier for the first time. Your mind is naturally distracted with anticipation as you try and conceptualize which way this encounter will go. If you pay close attention to what the Ogier is saying and not how Rand is reacting, the clue is there for all to see.
It is quite exciting to meet an Aielman. I've read much of your people.
I'm not an Aielman.
Really? Red hair is one of the few physical traits that can help you work out where a human is from.
I'm from the Two Rivers.
An Aielman from the Two Rivers?
I'm not an Aielman.
An Aielman from the Two Rivers who insists that he is not an Aielman. That is very odd. I like oddities.
So Rand is actually an Aielman. Now, this information would have been considerably more impactful had they filmed the scene from Book 1 where Rand's father tells him the true circumstances surrounding his birth while he lay dying from the early Trolloc attack. This omission was intentional. The writers wanted to sustain the mystery and keep the viewers in suspense as to who the Dragonborn really was until later in the series. Our next clue comes just a few moments later, still in episode 5, when Rand leaves the bookstore or library to join the procession of Loghain. Of course, Loghain himself can also channel. He's been called the false dragon, he was gentled, and is now being humiliated by the Aes Sedai. This leads to a rather poignant moment where Mat reflects on what their lives will be like if one of them is actually the Dragon Reborn. The clue here is that when Mat and Rand catch Loghain's eye, Loghain begins to laugh effusively. Now, in the books, they make it very clear that Loghain can see the presence of the dragon in Rand. However, as the article points out, the show cuts the scene to make it appear as if Mat, not Rand, is the object of Loghain's attention. This was an easy one to miss because there would be no way you would know what's going on unless you've already read the books. For our second to last clue, we finally leave episode 5, skip episode 6, and go to the opening scene of episode 7. This was the Battle of Dragonmount. I was torn when I first saw this scene. It was clear it was one of the few places that they actually spent money, and I'm glad they paid proper respect to the Aiel Spear Maidens. However, considering the Spear Maiden was in labor at the time, I thought the scene was overdone. And the big shocking reveal at the end was ruined with embarrassingly bad CGI. Of course, this clue is obvious. We see the Aiel Spear Maiden give birth to a baby, which is then taken by Rand's father. This directly links to what the Ogier said to Rand and solidifies his background as an Aiel. It also gives us a little nod to Rand's father's sword, which does come up on occasion. Our last clue comes just a few moments later in episode 7. If you recall, the entire group is traveling through the ways and are attacked by a Trolloc.
A Trolloc in the waves, that should be impossible.
Explains how they reached the Two Rivers undetected.
And what happened to the guiding?
Did it just get a lot colder in here?
Oh dear.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to channel.
In the initial presentation of the scene, it appears as if Egwene instinctively uses her powers to knock the Trolloc back into the void. Later in the episode, when they review each of these clues one by one, they reveal that it was in fact Rand who channeled the one power to defeat the Trolloc. Now, the whole reveal scene in its entirety was very satisfying. It was nice to see things get tied together, especially considering how poorly developed Rand's character was throughout the first season. On the other hand, this specific clue didn't play as well. I know that in each of the previous instances they used a distraction or a contrivance or whatever to mute the impact of the clue, but this one just felt cheap, like they weren't really trying anymore. Well guys, that's it from me this time. I do fantasy entertainment content as often as possible. If that is of interest to you, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and I will see you next time.